G'day and welcome. So this is a sort of an intermediate video, a bit of content in here. I want to put some of Harvey's generosity to work in terms of the oil pressure gauge and the lens for the XD, so we'll pull that out in a moment and get that done. I want to thank Graham, the XO Coupe guy has been very generous to me. He has sent eyebrow molds for eyebrow die-cast trims for the EJ. And I saw a set of these because he said he didn't have any, and I saw a set on eBay. I think they were about 80 bucks, and I sniped them and put my maximum in at 120, and they ended up, I missed out, they went for something like $180. Now he said these were less than ideal. To me they look damn good. There's a tiny bit of pitting, but I don't know, even on those $180 ones, I don't know, they were probably worse, you know. So I really don't mind that. I think they're great. So thanks very much. He also threw in for good measure this beautiful old stock, new old stock special badge. Beautiful. Really, really lovely. Genuine article. You can get all this stuff repro. Repro stuff's weak though. You can kind of just push it with your thumb and the whole thing will come off. These are the real deal. And I'm wrapped with that. I'm absolutely stoked. I'll source another one somewhere. It won't be as good as that, but because it's on the other side, you don't see them next to each other. So that's a good thing too. He threw in this XWXY headlight switch. These things have a heavy aluminium bezel. So your Falcon and your Falcon 500 are black. Fairmont and Falcon GT have that little insert. Futura, I'm not sure. I think Futura had those, I'm not sure. But this is brand new. And mine works fine in the XW, but the only problem is the rear stat is dicky in mine. So it's sort of, you have to fiddle with it to get the lights to be at their brightest on the dashboard. So I might change it out. I don't think I'd put much effort into fixing the other rear stat, or at least, you know, cleaning it up, but new one. And of course, our little mascot, little EJ Premier die-cast model that can sit in the study alongside the Plymouth and give me inspiration, and I'm really excited about doing this car. And speaking of cars, there's going to be a few alterations. I've got my youngest daughter who still hasn't got a learners but wants to get them, and I'm going to put her in the Bluebird because it's an automatic. Most of my cars are manuals. She wants to drive a manual, but I wanted to get the feel of the road in an auto. Susie, my ex-wife, is thinking about selling a Commodore, and that little Bluey would be a good runabout for her. If she doesn't want it, she can drive it around here when she comes down, and she comes down reasonably frequently. And I've got another manual car coming, which is a green Corolla A112R, which is very much similar to one I had years ago. I actually sold it to buy the Commodore. So there's one of those coming from Graham as well. And there's a bit of footage that he shot of that with the EJ as well, and he left half of that footage without saying anything, so I can do a voiceover, that sort of thing. So that's where we're at. Can't talk too much about what's going in what's coming because it's separation stuff and that's still going on and nothing's finalised yet, so you know, I'm kind of in the dark a bit as well with some of it. So anyway, look, that being said, I hope you enjoy.
Righty chaps, this is Peter's latest acquisition from me. It is a 2001 Toyota Corolla Ascent. Only the greatest. You might notice she's sitting a bit low at the back. That's because she's full of EJ parts. In here we got some carbies for me. Timing side, wiper motor, bolts, more bits, lift under here, just tons and tons of engine parts. There's a rocker cover, particularly greasy, just full of parts. There's also another tub there full of bits. There's actually an engine block, grey motor block right there. It's also all sitting on cardboard, so it's not going to damage the trim. In the front we have more cardboard. We have a generator, flywheel and a bell housing. The bell housing is insanely light, but if we look at the car itself, it's fairly original, unmolested. I don't know if we're going to do focus on the car or the EJ parts, but either way this is heading to him very, very soon. Believe it or not, my sister actually bought this car brand new in 2001, so it's a one owner, and she was going to scrap it. Now it's got some paint peel, but that seems to be a Toyota thing, and no joke, this has happened in the last week, which is super annoying. It's a good little runabout. I've been driving it for a few weeks. Drives rather well. So there's that. As everybody knows, my Commodore, let's not talk about that. It's still going strong if people want to know. I haven't really shown, well, should I say, I don't think Peter's shown this EJ how it's going to be when he gets it, but this is it. Currently I've been piecing it together for him. It's not a shell, he's getting pretty much a complete car. So in the back of the Corolla over there is pretty much, oh, and in between those two boxes, between the block and the other box, is actually a gearbox. So the driveline for this is actually in that. So I don't think I've got a complete front bumper bar, unfortunately, but the grille is mostly complete. 2 headlights, there's a bonnet in my workshop that'll be bolted on. Catch, rad support, wiring loom is in here, throttling. There's actually not much in these engine bays that's in there. Brake and clutch master cylinder. I've got them, but they're bin material anyway, so no point, just buy 2 new ones. So effectively under the bonnet, the horn's in there. There's really nothing much to these engine bays anyway, so actually I would have said, aside from, and I got a battery tray for him, so don't worry about that. I actually said the engine bay was complete. I don't have any guard spears for the front, so if you guys know anybody who's got any chrome for EJs, EHs, or mainly EJs, sing out and send them Peter's way because he needs a set. If I reach in through here, oops, he's got the instrument cluster. I'm going to put in the Corolla when it goes to him shortly, a steering wheel with a center and all that stuff. Over on the, leaning up against the building over there, is a steering column that's complete. I think he's missing a radio blank. I've got the pad to go on the dashboard. Hanging up inside the shed just there is a front seat. No seat rails, unfortunately. Front floors are good. This back floor is actually really good. That one's gone, but the space under this seat here on this side is gone. I've got some door trims. I've got enough parts to make complete doors, and I was going to piece that one together in a minute because that's actually just a shell, and I've got doors. I'm going to strip the guts out to make sure that door can shut. I've got all the glass. I might even have a full set of scuff plates, I think. Going to the back, obviously got a rear window. It's got gutter molds, really good boot lid, fuel flap. Not the world's greatest tail lights, but they're relatively complete. I've got fuel tanks. So don't have any dogleg chrome though, unfortunately. Really good driver's door, just a couple of little holes in that one. That's actually probably a repairable door. Might need half a skin or a whole skin, but the frame's good. That door is also good, just needs a skin and a little bit of repair work to the inside because somebody cut a speaker hole in it. But realistically, he is getting probably a 90% complete car. I mean, it's going to be built from spare parts, but that is the gem. And I've got to put some wheels on it that actually hold air. That one is not holding air at all. The diff underneath this thing isn't complete, but sitting over there is a diff that is complete, and some more engine parts over there. So I don't know quite what Peter's going to do here, but I might just do a quick walk around and he might be able to put some overlay commentary on it of himself.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. I'd love to add some commentary, but I'm just eating a KFC burger at the moment, so just give me a moment. And I'm back again. EJ Holden, rather excited about getting this one, although it does have quite a few gremlins in terms of rust in it. You can see on the engine subframe there, that whole front end, I can't remember, the wireframes need to come off, and there's a mount that's faulty as well that needs to be fixed. The concerns, I guess, are in the dog legs and the rear spring hanger. I think one of the spring hangers is compromised as well, so it means a bit of structural work. So comparing it to the XC shell was a lot cleaner, and there's also under there, hang on, if you peer under there you can see there's rust in the plenum, so I'm going to lift the top of the plenum up and see what I can do with that. I need to see the car first, I've never done one, you know, like this. But it does look a little bit more involved in the XC, but it looks also a little more honest, and you can really see what's being done. So I'm not anticipating any great surprises. You can see in all its glory what's good and what's not so good about it. This came up, Graham offered it to me for an extremely competitive price, like he did with the Corolla, which you can see in a moment, and I'm stoked. And he's got lots and lots of experience with these, so I can ask questions. Those rubbers might need replacing, not sure, and you know, pitch in and try and get some of his expertise. It comes with lots of good spare parts. He's sent a few of them to date and they've been wonderful, and I'm really stoked about getting it. Really it should be sandblasted inside, underneath and out. I've got to figure that out because the blasters around here are a lot more expensive than they are in Adelaide, but I've got access to a rotisserie, but I'm not sure about space. So I have to work out what we're doing with one of the cars in the garage before I can commit to sort of putting this in and leaving it there, because it really does need to be inside this vehicle before we can really chop into it. There's a little Corolla. You can see the paint on the bonnet is knackered and it's got a dent in the front guard just at the base of the A-pillar there. You can see the reflection. I'll pop that guard off, see if I can get the dent out. I'll paint the bonnet, paint the front bumper bar. We'll pull off the seat covers in the front. You can see they've just been sat in for 180,000 Ks, so they can go straight in the washing machine, but the rest of the car looks brilliant. And in fact, one owned a car from Graham's sister, and he's even chucked in 3/4 of a tank of fuel and filled it up with EJ parts. So it's sort of like a way of getting freight here, if you know what I mean. And this vehicle will just be put on the road, and Rosie will drive it. She wants to drive a manual. She can do her apprenticeship in the Bluebird and get her driving experience 20 or 30 hours up in the auto. There's that gearbox that Graham threw in. And a 132 block. I might cobble a 132 together. There is a J block that goes with it, a 138, but apparently someone did shotgun practice on it. So we'll just see what that's like when it turns up. I do have to hitch the trailer up to the Falcon and go up there to pick up the other wireframes and a few other bits and pieces. But Graham has been really gracious, and I thank him very much. Thanks, Graham, if you watch this. I'm sure you will. And we'll get a good start on that. So this car went off today at 11 o'clock at Upper Transport, and apparently it might be here this week, which means I'll get stuck into it as well as the parts inside. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed this little clip. The other thing, of course, he's been doing is sending photos of the progress. He's put 3/4 of a tank of fuel in it. Do you believe the generosity on this guy? EJ bits, while we're speaking of it, it's all strapped in. Graham's a little bit concerned about the weight distribution on the car. He's sort of moved things into the centre between the two axles and taken a final shot of it on his driveway, which I think is this one, yes. We're trying to make sure that it doesn't exceed the 12 centimetres or go below the 12 centimetres ground clearance that a penny can need before they'll bring it in. There it is at the depot at 11 o'clock this morning, ready to be carted away. Hopefully I see it this week. It'd be really good because it can give me a bit more content to bring out, particularly with those parts inside. And of course, he's done a sterling job with the guards. That's another bit of work he's been doing on the XC guards. So Graham, again, thanks very much. Ron Dixon wasn't terribly impressed with the state of my cardboard, so I'll replace it. And I'm doing this for you, Ron. Well, not really. I go through the stuff. Oops, quite a lot. This has a few marks. Hope it's not a problem. And Oh, come on. Actually, I think I'm squashing. I need a bigger shop. Alright, that'll do. And the reason I'm doing that now is because I need to rebuild this switch. The EH headlight switch. And we'll clean all this up. That's the plated doodah for the thing. We've got to put the release button in, which is just a rivet. Which is that guy. That's what goes through that hole and you press it to release the stalk. So we'll get into that in a moment. They can go in the bin. They're the old bolts from the manifold. And speaking of the manifold, I'm not happy at all with this. I've found another set of linkages which fit between the throttle bodies, if you know what I mean. They do require the throttle shafts to be changed for the threaded type at the end instead of the peened over one. That's not such a big deal. They're 5,000s over, the reproduction ones, or at least the replacement ones, which means reaming out the hole, if you like, for the throttle shaft, which isn't a bad thing because it gets rid of all the wear that's happened over the years and you end up with a new shaft. But it means getting rid of all this gunk, right? So I'll leave those things there because it's original to the manifold. I don't know what brand that is. I've looked and I can't find it. There's about a gazillion of these getting around. But I'll put in that integral thing there. So I think that'll be a big improvement. Back having a squizzy at this old girl. I've had people tell me it looks rather down and needs to have some work done, and they're quite right. I've got to take that, can you see where my hand is there, that little temperature switch out. It goes through that hose, which I put in later for a light, just so I know that the oil pressure hasn't failed. And the correct wire for it is this guy here. So I'll take that switch out and I've got to put this sender in. Don't know if I've got the camera in the right spot. I've had to take the modulator hose off from here. We need that back on because if we don't have it, the auto shifting is going to be up the spout. And we've got a couple of cut down spanners here. It's 11/16, but I'm using a 17, which is pretty much the same thing. And this will at least tell us if the gauge is sus, and I think it might be. It's been a long time since I've seen that working. And of course, the moment it failed, I bought another sender, and it was the wrong one. The resistance was incorrect. And these are assholes, these things, because they're in a really fiddly place. Which, I mean, you know, it's not that bad really. It's just I haven't got the right tools. I just don't have the leverage there. Which one is it? Is it that one? Yeah, that goes on that hose, which doesn't feel terribly tight, but okay. And I want this on this side. And I'll just tighten that nut. Give that a whirl. If I can find the keys. What have I done with the keys? I always do this. I never leave keys in a car and I put them down somewhere and never find them. Actually, while I'm at it, I'll take this switch. That's the old one. And my cut down spanneries. Oh, squeaky XD. That's the light I was using as an all pressure light. So when we turn the ignition on, it doesn't glow, but the gauge is doing something. And it went out. So we could have a gauge problem. But when I turned it on, see, it registers something. Let me turn it on again, and we got that. Well, this is a real pain. I've got two fishing tackle boxes that look like that. That's got sinkers in it. The other one's full of resistors and all this sort of stuff, and I need it to check the gauge on the XD. I've got to do a big clean up in here. It's just beyond funny. I wonder if there's any in that case there. I don't think there are. But I need certain resistances, and I know I've got them, But it's probably going to be quicker just whizzing down to JCar in the morning and just buying some for a few cents rather than looking through all this crap. I do have to have a big clean up in here. The Starley seats and the old Bluebird grill and motorcycle rims and you name it, it's in here. That's an old person's toilet seat. I'm not old enough to use that yet. I don't know. A projector, I mean, really. Oh, hello. What's your name? I thought it was in these shelves here, but it ain't. It's just such a blasted mess in here. I think I'm going to give up and go down to JCar in the morning and see what I can come up with. I made a mistake. This one has the same resistance at minimum of 75 ohms as the one I've put in the XD. This one's for the XC, and I know they're meant to be different, so it's the same number. Of course, this one here, which is completely different again, that's like a couple of hundred ohms, and that was for the autometer gauges. I can't use that. So I'm tipping that this is not a flex drive cluster. I'm going to have to pull it out and have a look. It took me a while to figure how to get the headlight switch out because I was looking on the top. Well, I couldn't reach around properly. I'm not the right socket for this. I have to go get one. Is that tight? Doesn't look tight. I couldn't figure how to get it out. And the switch is on the side and it's covered with a little push button. It's very, very hard to get to. And should be a screw over here. And you know, I mean, obviously I've had this out before, but I couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember how to do it. But I have to take the cluster out anyhow because I've got to change the lens out. And the last time I had the cluster out was many years ago. Field vision. Mechanics always use field vision. There we go. So that lens I can take. I can change that without taking the cluster out, but I'm going to take it out anyway. Might as well. I changed my mind. I will take the whole thing out because I want to change all the globes. Oh, circuit board's falling out. Ew. Oh, that's better. Right. Right. Got the cluster carrier. I'm just going to clean up in there. There's a little bit of dust with my lovely unwrapped brush. These are actually quite a chintzy arrangement. They're quite fragile. And the problem we're having with the gauges is that I thought it was a flex drive and it isn't, it's VDO. The other issue I'm having is that, I'm just going to have to dust all this off, is that I've got the wrong sender, I bought the wrong sender. So I'll just make sure there's no dust in there. One of the problems with these is the lights, like things like high beam especially is very dim. They just use these minute little wedges. I might have some new ones. Well, I can put that in after. I remember years ago I had a Fairmont gear and I painted this bit silver because I wanted it to look like an ESP. Now I don't care anything for those. Well, I don't care about doing that sort of thing with these. I want it to look original. And that will just fall in to there. And then we use Mr. Harvey's beautiful lens, which I've got my fingers on. Whoa. And I need to clean it. But it'll give you an idea of just how gorgeous it is. Isn't that lovely? I'll turn it around so you can see it. I've just got to clean up the back of it, but that looks absolutely divine in my book. So we'll put that on. I'm just going to clean the back and then I'll put it on. And you've just got to be so gentle with this stuff. These screws are just like a machine screw, and there's no thread. They just screw into plastic. They're sort of just rammed in, similar to what a snip button is. And even lubricating them on occasion if they feel a bit stiff, because this plastic is so old, and you know, you just got to be really, really careful with it. So that is just a work of art. Now, I've got to look at these globes because I don't like these things. Look a little bit grey. I might put a new set in. Right, so I haven't got the ones I wanted. I've only got these large wedges. They're no good. So I'll have to go to Burston's tomorrow and get a packet. I've got 2 boxes of those and not the ones I want. It's just a matter of taking them out and replacing them, I think. So I'm absolutely delighted with this. It's doing everything it's supposed to do. The other thing I did, which was stupid, is I was fighting the headlight switch to get it out from the side. I used a screwdriver and pushed the thing in. I forgot these actually have a little latch on the side of them, so you can get that whole binnacle surround off and leave the stalk in the switch itself. The other thing I found is that many years ago, I was going to put, when I painted the car in 2007, I was going to put driving lights on it. And I bought this driving light switch and never consequently used it. And also a brand new headlight stalk. Now I won't put this in, I'm going to save this because eventually I'll repaint the car when I've got room inside to keep it and keep it in pristine nick. It does need some repairs, and when I do that I'll put all this sort of stuff in then. So it was nice to have, you know, and I've had a lot of XD stuff for an awfully long time, and I keep it, you know. Right, so let's have a look at this other thing. The EH Holden headlight switch. I've given it a bit of a clean. It's still got that bulldust stuff around it though. Let's give it a rudimentary clean up. The main thing with this is it's actually in really good condition inside, in there. They're the bits that matter. So I'm just going to try and sort of clean what I can up, get rid of all that crud. And it just looks awful. And I was originally going to sort of wash it out, but I don't want to get it wet. So I'm just going to use Prepsol on a rag and just try and clean it up a little bit. I'm just going through some of the contact areas just to ensure we get good continuity and we get rid of all those burnt bits of carbon and that sort of stuff, because the thing drops onto here. I'm assuming that's for your interior light. The rest that itself I've cleaned up, as well as that point of contact there. I'm just going to bend that in a bit. The rest of it doesn't look too bad, particularly in these areas in here. It's really, really good. And just a moderate wipe divulges these really lovely brass connections. And they're just lovely. There's virtually no wear on it. So, you know, despite appearances, it really doesn't matter. Now, you can, with that, you can still see a bit of bulldust there. You can actually just wipe it with a bit of, clear coat. I'd be reluctant to do that on the off chance you got it all over these contacts and made them made them insulate. But we can wipe that stuff away. It's just a pretty unsightly stuff, although this is Bakelite, I think. It's burnt in almost. It's really, really tough to get off. The main thing is, you know, it looks good. And the other thing that looks good are these terminal parts here, or these bits here. And you can run them over a bit of 2000 and they shine, you know. And there's another one. And, you know, this is a switch that'll last many, many, many years. There's just nothing wrong with it. It's just physically dirty. Now, you can use contact grease. I'm just going to use the other stuff. Hang on, before I go doing that, I'm just going to pop that down for a second. I need to put this spring into here, and that's for the release, and that goes through that hole. Then I have to flare it out, And so we can do that with a centre punch. Right, returning to the XD Falcon. I've got that instrumentation sitting in there. Oil pressure gauge is what we're looking at. So if I turn the ignition on, we've got minimum, which is what I thought. And I've got a wire around 10 ohm thing. Now, what I looked at incorrectly, I've got some things written there, is at full it's supposed to be 180 ohms. Medium I'm tipping 90, so I've got a bunch of these resistors. 90, if I stick that in series, that should read about half. Phone's ringing, just a minute, there we are, there's 2 in series there, that should give us about half. So there, oh, it's a bit under half. We'll go for a few more. So with the one's daisy chain there, that should give us 180 ohms, which should read full. Right, we're a little bit out, not too bad. I think if you factor in, you know, the voltage of the battery, maybe the resistance of all those connections, as well as that dirty one down there. I could probably even try and stick another one in, see if I can get something a bit bigger. Right, so I've got about 195 ohms there, and I think that's perfect, and it should be right at the top of the scale, which it is, so that's fine. So I know that gauge is fine. Harvey initially said it would be. Being the clever dick I am, I forgot to get the new wedge globes, so I'll get those in the morning, and then I can put the dash back together. In the meantime, I'm very happy. It just looks as though the resistance on that new sender is suited to the XC, not the XD. It's going to be quite interesting to put back together. In other words, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be really messed up, actually. Because the whole rheostat thing is really painful. I've just got to clean that up. And that has grease on it, because it runs against the top or the lid of the thing. Crap. Oh dear, what to do? Now, this is horrible. I'll show you why it's horrible. This thing's spring loaded for the rheostat. That has to sit in there while you put this on, which has a little collar there, which sits in while we try not to disrupt that other bloody thing. Oh crap. Hang on, I need to have a look. Yep, we're still there. We're good. It's got to go in. It's got to latch in. I think. That's working well, but now I'm going to have to fiddle and far around with it a bit more, I think. This is JCar Electrical Clean and Lube. The only problem I've had is that button I put back in has failed. If you put the thing in there, I'm just going to try a rivet. I tried this other one that was too big. What about if I use the empty part of a rivet, push it through like that, hang on, and flare that. That would probably work better than that other pin, because this other pin I bent, it's sort of solid. Where is my little punch? What do I do? Oh, there it is. I just decided to use a slightly longer one. Okay, so let's put this bloody thing back together. Actually, I just want to make sure none of that's come out. No, that feels good. That's cool. We'll pop him in. It's just a bastard, this thing. It really is. It's just not very pleasant. Hang on, I'm going to need more grease. And I'll just pop a bit of grease on that so it can slide around. And then we'll stick this guy on and squeeze him down. Something like that. Is that correct? And then that should lock in. And to release it, I press that and it comes out. Good, that works. Right, alright. Let us do some squeezing. Just from here to lock it on for now. Don't want to break anything. But once you've got one on, it'll stay. Good boy. There we go. And we give this a squeezing. Gently does it. Nice and easy does it. Right, let's have a look. Nice and easy does it was off an old Doctor in Charge or something like that, and it was George Layton, and they were playing Australian characters that were known for being really bad. Was it Doctor in Charge? I can't remember. Right, now let's have a shot at that, shall we? It's just a little bit hard to get in. We pull him up and out she comes. So that might mean that that's a little bit rough there. But I think that that's basically alright. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not upset with how it looks. And I think that's going to be alright. So, press it, out she comes. That'll work properly. I'll clean this up, stick it on, I think we're done. Well, I think that's successful. Right, so I think we'll put that in our box of reasonably spiffy EJ Holden stuff. I forgot to get those, the XD wedge globes. I'll get a set of those tomorrow. I might buy 20 of them. Then I've got some spares. Put that back in the XD's dash. That can all go back in. Then I'll order the correct sender. And we should be good. I think. So on that note, hope you've enjoyed this. Take good care of yourselves and I'll see you soon. Well, today this rather large Motorcraft box turned up from Caverall, Derbyshire. And he said, I have some seat springs. For, I think these are XF ones, I'm not sure. Would you like them? I thought he was talking about a couple of packets like that. But he wasn't, he was talking about a whole box. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all these. There's XF ones, and I actually needed some of these when I was doing the XW. That's XF as well. And the XW rear seat and the XC rear seat, TE, so that's a Cortina one. Actually nice stuff to have, but I'm not sure, I just don't know how I'm going to use it all. So a lot of it will probably sit there, and if I know anyone that needs, well, it looks like a rat's got to it or something, or it's just the plastic that's broken down. But if I know anyone that needs, that looks like an XY, oh no, that's XF as well. So there's loads and loads of stuff in here, so Caverall, thanks very much. Not sure how I can use it all for now, but it's very, very kind of you to send it.
Oh, fuck. Stop! 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 I can't believe you right now, dude.
What do you reckon? She haven't. Jesus.